first things first, America's not going to help Ukraine. Because this is a proxy war. They've turned Ukraine into Afghanistan, which is absolutely despicable. But if they actually had on it, this is what they would actually do. First things first, they would, well, his options, that would be a better way of putting it. First option, attack Russia in Africa. Russia's currently recently expanded their presence in Africa. And if few Russian soldiers get killed in Africa, then that would do two things. Either one, Russia sends more troops into Africa, secures their position more, be more cautious and stuff, or two, they just leave. Either way, it's good for Ukraine and bad for Russia, because, well, not good for Ukraine in the first, not good for Ukraine if they just end up leaving, but if they increase their strong position, that would be good for Ukraine. Second, Israel. Yes, Israel is the solution. Let's say when Israel strikes Syria and Syrian soldier or Russian soldiers killed. Then let's say next day a car filled with civilians get exploded, and the president or a press guy says Syria killed these civilians thinking they were an officer in Israel. Army, this is unacceptable. They're killing civilians. We must strike back. So then they just start increasing tension and destroying all the Russian aircraft in Syria that are on the ground. It would be a pretty covert way. It would also, if they target stuff, and if the rebels increase their activity, then all of a sudden Russia would have to send troops in. Not only would the... Okay, here's the thing. What aircraft would they destroy? Probably the Su-24, but they might destroy an Su-34 or an Su-35, which would be useful. I don't think the Russians are using the Su-24 in Ukraine, though. But they might be. But they'd replace these aircraft in Syria. They would probably have to increase activeness, maybe even send more troops. But let's say over the course of a month, Israel destroys 4 or 5 aircraft. That's 1 aircraft destroyed a week. Pretty good losses for Russia. Yeah. And third option, the Korea option. Do what Russia did and China did. Russia did in Korea. Just send your aircraft and attack Russia. Russia's like, see, that's the war, did the war. But, well, if you start a war in Ukraine, and it escalates, well, Russia said that they'll only use nuclear weapons if the existence of Russia is threatened. But you could justify it saying an attack on the food and fuel security of Europe is an attack on us. And then when Russia inevitably puts threats out or like do stuff like that or whatever, then you can say they're attacking us. We need to send troops into Ukraine to secure the wheat fields and stuff to save Europe from starvation. Send some aircraft. Worst case scenario, you lose 10 pilots and 30 aircraft. That sounds reasonable, but then you have air superiority, or at least Russia doesn't have air superiority over Ukraine. Yeah, so pretty much don't send ground troops, send air troops. And strike Russian airfields and stuff. I don't think it would escalate to a nuclear war. Actually, no, I guarantee it wouldn't escalate to a nuclear war. It'd be fairly cheap on lives, but it will be victory for Ukraine. Increased chance of victory for Ukraine. So yeah, those are my options. And also you could say that, well, Ukraine hasn't been striking Belarus, and Russia has been using Belarus as a thing. So should we attack Belarus? If you attack our airfields in Poland, we'll attack Belarus. You hear what I'm saying? Then Lukashenko will either evict the Russians from Belarus, or or you attack Belarus, and Lukashenko will be like, no, you can't strike Ukraine from Belarus. Yeah, you get the idea. So anyway, those are a few ideas that won't get used, so yeah, that is all.